Oscar Smith is scheduled for execution today, Thursday. The state of Tennessee is set to carry out the sentence. Smith is 75 years old. This execution marks a significant event, being Tennessee's first in 5 years. The process leading to this day has been lengthy and complex. An execution is the state's ultimate penalty. It brings finality to a legal process that began decades ago. The age of the condemned is often a point of discussion in death penalty cases. At 75, Smith is among the older individuals facing execution. This fact adds another layer to the somber proceedings. Tennessee has had a period without executions. The 5-year gap highlights potential legal challenges or procedural reviews that may have occurred. This execution signals a return to carrying out death sentences in the state. Give a like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Smith was convicted of murder. The conviction stemmed from events that occurred in 1989. The victims were his ex-wife, Judith Smith, and her 2 teenage sons, Jason and Chad Burnett. The crime took place in their Nashville home. This location was the scene of the violent acts. The bodies were discovered on October 2, 1989. The discovery initiated a criminal investigation. Evidence gathered led to Smith's arrest and subsequent trial. The trial concluded with a guilty verdict. Following the conviction, the sentencing phase determined the punishment. Smith was sentenced to death in 1990. This sentence was the result of the jury's findings and the court's judgment based on the law. The legal process included appeals. These appeals challenged the conviction and sentence. Despite these challenges, the death sentence was upheld through various levels of the judicial system over many years. The nature of the crime, involving multiple victims including teenagers, contributed to the severity of the sentence. The location, a family home, added a dimension of personal violation. The date of discovery marked the beginning of the public's awareness of the tragedy. The 1990 sentencing established the legal basis for the state's intent to execute Smith. This date is a critical point in the timeline of the case. It set in motion the decades of appeals and legal maneuvers that followed. The conviction for murder required the prosecution to prove Smith's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. The jury's decision reflected their conclusion based on the evidence presented. The death sentence was a possible outcome under Tennessee law for the crimes committed. The victims, Judith Smith, Jason Burnett, and Chad Burnett, are central to this case. Their deaths were the basis for the charges against Smith. The impact on their family and community has been profound and lasting. The events of 1989 remain the foundation of the state's case against Smith. The evidence presented at trial detailed the circumstances of the murders. This evidence led to the jury's decision to impose the death penalty. Smith's final execution was initially scheduled for 2022. This date was set after years of appeals had been exhausted or denied. The scheduling indicated the legal process was nearing its conclusion. However, the 2022 execution was delayed by Governor Bill Lee. The governor issued a temporary reprieve. This action paused the scheduled execution. The reason cited for the delay involved concerns about the state's death penalty protocol adherence. Questions were raised regarding the procedures used in carrying out executions. These concerns prompted a review. Governor Lee initiated an independent review of the state's execution protocols. This review examined the substances used and the procedures followed. The goal was to ensure compliance with established standards and legal requirements. The temporary reprieve allowed time for this review to be conducted. It provided a pause in executions while the state addressed the protocol concerns. This action was within the governor's authority. Following the review, Governor Lee has since confirmed the execution order. The findings of the review presumably addressed the initial concerns or led to adjustments in protocol. The confirmation reinstated the state's intent to proceed. Governor Lee stated he does not plan to intervene further. This indicates his decision to allow the execution to move forward as scheduled. His statement clarified his position after the protocol review. Governor Lee will not grant Smith's clemency request. Clemency is a power held by the governor to pardon or commute a sentence. Smith had sought this relief as a final appeal for mercy. The denial of clemency means the judicial sentence stands. It signifies the executive branch's decision not to alter the punishment imposed by the courts. This denial removed a potential final barrier to the execution. The history of delays in death penalty cases is common. Appeals, legal challenges, and sometimes executive intervention can postpone executions for years or even decades. Smith's case reflects this pattern. The specific concern about protocol adherence in 2022 highlights the scrutiny placed on the method of execution itself. States using lethal injection have faced challenges regarding the availability and efficacy of the drugs used. Ensuring protocol adherence is critical for the state to carry out executions legally and without undue complications. Governor Lee's decision to order a review and subsequently confirm the execution order demonstrates the executive's role in the death penalty process. The governor acts as the final authority on granting reprieves or clemency, distinct from the judicial process of appeals. His decision not to intervene further underscores the state's determination to proceed with the sentence. The clemency process allows for consideration of factors beyond legal guilt. It can involve humanitarian concerns, doubts about guilt, or other mitigating circumstances. The denial in Smith's case means these factors were not deemed sufficient to halt the execution. The period between the initial scheduling in 2022 and the current date involved significant legal and executive review. This process aimed to ensure the state was prepared to carry out the execution according to law and established procedures. The confirmation of the order signals the completion of this review phase. Smith was transferred to Death Watch earlier this week. This transfer is a standard procedure for inmates nearing their execution date. It signifies the final phase of their incarceration. Death Watch is a 72-hour period prior to execution. This timeframe allows for close monitoring and specific protocols to be implemented. It is a period of heightened security and restricted activity. During Death Watch, the inmate is held in a cell adjacent to the execution chamber. This proximity facilitates the final movement to the execution site. It is a distinct location within the prison facility. The purpose of Death Watch is multifaceted. One key purpose is to maintain safety and control of the condemned person. This is a critical period where security is paramount. Another purpose is to maintain safe and orderly prison operation. The Death Watch procedures minimize disruption to the rest of the prison population and staff. It isolates the process to a specific area. A Death Watch cell has specific dimensions and furnishings. The cell is typically 8 by 10 feet. This size provides a confined space for the inmate during the final hours. The cell includes essential items. These include a metal-framed bed, a mattress, a desk, a stool, and a shelf. It also contains a shower, a sink, and a toilet. These provisions allow the inmate to remain in the cell without needing to be moved for basic needs. Smith is under 24-hour observation by prison officials. This constant monitoring is a key feature of Death Watch. It ensures the inmate's safety and prevents any attempts at self-harm or escape. The observation is conducted by correctional officers. They maintain a constant vigil over the inmate. This continuous presence is part of the security protocol. Visitation rights are strictly limited during Death Watch. The number and identity of visitors are restricted. This limitation is part of maintaining control and focus during this critical period. Visits are limited to those on his approved list and spiritual advisors. The approved list typically includes family members and legal counsel. Spiritual advisors provide religious support during the final hours. The restrictions on visitation are designed to manage the environment around the condemned inmate. They ensure that only authorized individuals have access. This helps maintain security and order. Physical contact with visitors is generally not allowed until execution day. This rule is in place for security reasons during the Death Watch period. It prevents the passing of unauthorized items. The decision regarding physical contact on execution day rests with the warden. The warden may allow limited physical contact, such as a final embrace, shortly before the execution is carried out. This is a discretionary decision. Smith may receive a visit from a spiritual advisor before execution. This visit is typically allowed in the hours leading up to the scheduled time. It provides the inmate with an opportunity for prayer or final rites. The death watch period is a time of intense psychological strain. The inmate is acutely aware of the impending execution. The procedures are designed to manage this period safely and according to protocol. The cell's design and furnishings are basic. They provide necessary functions but are stark. This environment reflects the gravity of the situation. The 24-hour observation ensures accountability and prevents unforeseen events. It is a constant presence for the inmate. The officers are responsible for documenting the inmate's behavior and status. The limitations on visitation underscore the isolation of the death watch experience. While some contact is permitted, it is highly controlled. The inmate is largely alone with their thoughts and the presence of the guards. The spiritual advisor's visit is often the final interaction outside of prison staff. It provides a measure of comfort or religious observance in the final moments. This visit is a recognized part of the process in many jurisdictions. The procedures followed during death watch are standardized. They are designed to ensure the process is carried out safely, securely, and according to state regulations. Every step is carefully managed in the hours leading up to the scheduled execution time.